How long did Wade Wilson spend in captivity under the torture of sadists? Why is it necessary to torture test subjects to trigger a mutation? And what exactly happened to his skin in the end? The answers to these and other intriguing questions about our old friend Deadpool are in this video. Among all the screen time packed with jokes about masturbation and asses, mostly in the context of their constant trauma, there's a 16-minute scene that stands out. It's filled with pain and a dramatic message built on the main character's hope to cure terminal cancer. The scene, though not without humor and a softening soundtrack, still feels like an out-of-place addition. It introduces Wade Wilson as a low-level man of darkness. Of course, this is about Wade's time spent in a commercial facility known as The Workshop, a business that profits by producing and selling super slaves on the black market. This workshop isn't the first establishment of its kind we've seen in the Fox universe. We also remember Dr. Rice's operation from Logan, profiting off the same kind of business. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's clear that in the world of the X-Men, the supply and production of super minions is a major branch of the underground economy with fierce competition. And what they all have in common, terrible sanitary conditions. When we meet the local manager and head doctor Francis, also known as Ajax, we're immediately faced with an interesting question. Is Wade Wilson actually a mutant? Francis, during his opening speech promising a world of pain, explains that the serum injected into Wade is designed to activate any hidden mutation genes in his DNA, implying that he does have them. Can Deadpool be considered a mutant by the general standards of the universe? It's a pretty debatable question, but in my opinion, no. As we know from the canon of this universe, most of the population carries dormant X genes within their DNA, passed down through the male line. When exactly these genes become active depends on genetics or pure chance, and the serum's job is to forcefully awaken them. But there are no guarantees. It's basically luck of the draw. Francis also tells us that for a mutation to activate, the body needs extreme stress, specifically an adrenaline rush. That's why these business-minded bastards subject their future products to torture. The purpose of adrenaline in stressful situations is to mobilize the body's resources to overcome the threat, which in this case apparently serves as a mutation catalyst. This brings us to another question. Why don't they use pharmacological solutions to get the same result? For example, epinephrine, which is a synthetic version of adrenaline. Why such a conservative and barbaric approach? One of the first reasons that comes to mind is the need for the test subjects to feel fear. But fear itself is a psychological trigger for the production of adrenaline. That's why it's called the fear and stress hormone. So, the first reason doesn't lie there. A lot of it comes down to the economics of super slave production. Yes, we're dealing with a cruel, inhumane production process. And sure, epinephrine doesn't cost much, but it's still probably more expensive than using discarded petroleum byproducts and stolen energy resources. So, they cut production costs this way. Let's face it, they even skimp on syringes. On top of that, a certain percentage of the raw materials, as Francis so kindly refers to people, turn out to be incapable of mutating. Cost-cutting is a decent explanation for their secondary reason for this barbaric approach, but the main reason is pretty openly shown in the story. They're all a bunch of insane sadists who enjoy torturing people, and they don't really hide it.
Now I'm gonna shut you in again, Wade. Not because I need to, because I want to. Sadistic fuck!
There's a scene where they put Wilson in what they call an ice bath. Considering the ice is mixed with water, the temperature is roughly 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. Depending on the temperature range, a person can stay in such water for 1 to 4 hours without any serious consequences to their body. But judging by how Wade looks, he's already in a critical state, meaning he's been in that bath for at least a whole day. And in this case, an adrenaline spike would only last a few minutes, since the body isn't interested in maintaining high adrenaline levels for long periods. So, Wade's prolonged stay in the ice bath had no productive purpose, other than pure sadism, of course. Not to mention, we're talking about a trained special forces soldier, for whom this kind of procedure could have even been part of his training. His emotional and physical stress threshold is way higher than that of a family man dreaming of making banana pancakes for his kids. Thus, Wade spent about a month in Francis's captivity. This is the exact time frame the antagonist mentions at the start of the film as the average production cycle for their product. Keeping the raw material any longer in case of failure wouldn't make sense. The sadistic spectacle reaches its peak when Francis places Wade in a hypoxia chamber. The idea is to reduce the oxygen level to the point where the subject starts to suffocate, and just when their brain is about to shut down, the oxygen flow is restored. And then the cycle starts again. Continuous asphyxiation for 2 days, assuming Francis wasn't exaggerating about the weekend, is one of the longest and most brutal tortures in cinematic history. On the brink of life and death, the serum finally activates Wade's mutation, causing irreversible deformation of his skin, deformation that visually resembles burns and scars. In this case, the transformation isn't a side effect of oxygen deprivation, at least not to the point of turning his skin blue. If you're familiar with Deadpool's origin from its original source, you already know the answer to what exactly led to Wade Wilson's disfigurement. The key factor was his cancer. Cancer is an abnormal, uncontrolled division of cells that forms malignant tumors. The regeneration in our characters is also an abnormal division of cells, but one that is systematized and controlled by the body. In other words, these processes share similar mechanisms. When Deadpool's abilities activated, the cancer cells took advantage of his abnormal regeneration and quickly spread throughout his body. Francis mentions that he's seen similar side effects before, which isn't surprising, considering that most of his test subjects are terminally ill people with various forms of cancer who have lost all other hope. Many theorists consider cancer a failed or yet-to-be-evolved attempt by evolution to give humans amphibian-like regeneration. This was the focus of an episode from the 4th season of The X-Files, where the key character was the so-called Cancer Man, the practically unkillable Leonard Betts. Every cell in his body was affected by cancer. Mulder explained to the skeptical Scully that for Leonard Betts, cancer wasn't a disease or a destructive factor, but a normal condition of his body, which used it as a tool for regeneration. He didn't just grow a new head, he grew a whole new body, and the old one was able to fake its death. Mulder described the existence of Leonard Betts as a quantum leap in evolution, and Deadpool is, in essence, the same, a massive walking cancer. As Francis literally puts it, Wade's acquired abilities attack the cancer cells, stopping them from spreading further. In other words, the cancer didn't go away. Wade's mutation learned to control it. Simply put, it activates abnormal cell division when needed and stops it when necessary, switching off oncogenes and activating tumor-suppressing genes. That's why, when his abilities were suppressed in the second movie, he began dying from cancer again. His body could no longer control it. And as another old friend of ours would say, what doesn't kill Deadpool makes him stranger. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel, give it a like, leave a comment, and don't forget to share it with your friends. See you next time.